Hello, everyone, and welcome to sub 114 of the Need to Nerd podcast. I'm your host, Easy, and I'm joined by Patty B.
Hi, I'm Patty B.
What's wrong, Patty?
What are
What's
you
wrong,
wear?
Patty B?
What are you wearing?
What are you talking
What is
about?
that?
This is an audio podcast, Patrick.
Oh, if you're on the audio, be sure to go to YouTube and check it out. Give us a like there. Spencer is donned a Mandalorian Din Djarin mask that doesn't quite cover his face. Like it
Yeah,
covers
it's
his
because
whole
it's a
face.
child. This is my son.
Yeah, it's made for a kid. So he's got his hair on top and his beard sticking out the bottom, and then this Mando mask covering his face.
This is
And
this is the way.
This is the way.
All right, I guess I can take it off. I'm gonna get kicked out of the kicked out. All my Mando friends are gonna be like, "You took off your helmet."
Oh no! Well, hey, I mean, you can come back from that. You learned that this season. Anywho.
Well, thank you everybody so much for listening. Thank you for being here. We are talking about season 3 of Mandalorian, which, Patty B, you have not been a part of our Mandalorian episodes in the past. This is your first one.
Oh yeah, cool. I like this show.
Before we dive too far into the Mandoverse, though, just some housekeeping. Don't forget to check out the Discord where you can talk about things like Star Wars, the Mandalorian, and video games. One of the video games that's coming out, we gotta get a game night going for the peeps, because Battlefront 1 and 2 coming cross-platform to Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and PlayStation, 64-player, multiplayer online. Let's freaking go.
I'm so excited. I played that game. I downloaded that game and bought it without multiplayer. Right, just to do stuff like Galactic Conquest.
Yeah, I literally was playing Galactic Conquest the other day. It's on both of my Xboxes.
Oh, game is so good.
So if you want to talk about that type of stuff, head on over to the Discord. If you're like, how do I do this? Like, I don't have a Switch. I don't have a way to play this game. You can get one. All you have to do is go subscribe to our YouTube channel, and one of our first 1,000 subscribers is getting a Switch or a Switch 2, whichever one is out of the time of the thing, and we're gonna give one away. So that's just our first 1,000 subscribers. We're at not close to that right now. So go ahead on over, and you could be the one. You could be the one. No nerd fact of the week this week. I decided because I'm really excited to dive into the Mandalorian, but I don't know if we're gonna have to do like a bonus video or what we're gonna have to do. But like, there's some celebration in order, because Patty B, you are caught up to where the podcast is in My Hero Academia, which means that you binge watched, what is that, 6 seasons of
5, yeah,
5 seasons of My Hero. And I gotta ask, man, what was that experience like?
Yeah, so a lot of it happened during COVID. I had a week.
And by that, you mean you getting COVID?
When I getting finally after 3 years, catching the bug. And yeah, I think I buzzed through the first two and a half seasons that week. So I was like, all right, I'm stuck in my room. I don't have anything to do. I can't go anywhere. I can't leave. So I'm just gonna binge watch some anime. It's been pretty great. Now that we've gotten to season 5, Shelby started watching actually with me like halfway through the season 5, and she loves it. And so now, before we start watching season 6, we're gonna go back through just to like get her, because she didn't know. She thought that All Might was just one of those teachers because she's only seen him as Small Might.
I love it. We're gonna have to do a video with you on like the whole experience of like, not only did you like, you've never watched an anime before, and you just binge watched the most popular anime in the world.
I did, and now we have Avatar as well. There's a lot of stuff to watch. So
yeah, I've started Avatar. We're gonna.
Ooh, I have not yet.
Podcast review of Mando Season 3. Mandalorian Season 3 is the third season in an American television series of The Mandalorian. The season premiered and released on March 1st, 2023, and takes place after the events of Book of Boba Fett. Now, during this part of the show, I like to hype up what we're about to talk about. And let me say that Season 1 of Mandalorian, I think, is universally beloved by the world. Like, Star Wars fans love to hate stuff. They love to tear it down. And nobody can tear down Mandalorian Season 1. And if they can, forget you. Season 2, really good. Really great ending. Absolutely. I've got to look at the show notes for what Wes and I talked about from that season. And I just remember leaving that season thinking, wow, what an amazing ending. Grogu's gone with, Luke Skywalker to do Jedi training, and here we are. What does this mean for the Mandalorian? And, there are all kinds of speculation about what that could mean. Is he going to come back as Mandalore, and then Grogu's going to, join him later, and, how's this all going to work? Is Grogu gone forever? Was that the end of Grogu's story? Lots of question marks. And this show immediately delivers. It immediately, from the very first scene you walk in, you're sitting down, you got your popcorn, and, boom, bang, battle, let's go. If you haven't watched it, you should, and we're going to dive in right here. But I mean, what were your very first thoughts as you watched this? One of the things that I really like about The Mandalorian is it's episodic. Like, we have to wait a week every week to get to watch The Mandalorian. Old-timey classic TV, not bingeable. You have to be up to date on it. What was that experience like for you for Season 3?
It was pretty good. It's definitely, I do enjoy that, even though binging something helps because I can just go, back to back to back. But having to wait gives it that dramatic effect of like, oh, what's going to happen? Because they always leave it on just that like kind of cliffhanger where something happens. You don't know what's going to happen next. So my first thoughts on this season, love season 1 and 2. This one, it has a lot of high level storytelling that wraps up some of the larger, galactic congregation of Mandalore story. And so I think there's some could be betters with it. It's not my favorite season. It's really hard to top, seasons 1 and 2. Still really good TV. There's a lot of really awesome stuff that happens. That's kind of my first thoughts and impressions with watching season 3.
I remember. Okay, so my first thought, like very first thought, when watching the show is, it started off with this bang, right? Like they're doing that ceremony for the Visla kid. So for those who don't know, Visla is actually the name of the person who originated this sect of Mandalorians. So this kid is like from a pretty important family. And they, they're doing this ritual, and then this giant armored alligator dinosaur thing comes out of the water, and a battle ensues within like the first couple of minutes of the episode. It's pretty epic. Din has to come in with his new fancy Naboo starfighter and take it down. And that is when I realized, wait a second, if you didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, you are so freaking lost right now. This is a new ship for him, and Grogu is with him. What is happening? Right. And that was my, I remember looking at Evan and going, oh, this is going to make people really mad.
Yeah.
This is going to make people really mad. And I hadn't thought about it, right? And I think that we'll get into this in a little bit, but I also thought that it was there was different pacing to this season, whereas the first two seasons were kind of like week by week Western, who done it, like, I don't know, type of the weekly baddie type of show, right? Very like Smallville-ish, where like you got a new weekly baddie.
It's Grogu and Din, going off on adventures and exploring the world.
And so this season's pacing is a little different. It's not exactly like that, and it's got some differences in it in that way. I want to quickly talk about. I'm not exaggerating when I say I thought people would not like that. What do you think the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes was for season 1 of The Mandalorian?
Season 1? Probably say like anywhere from 70 to 80%.
Yeah. Way higher.
Okay.
Season 1 had a 92% audience score.
Ooh, let's go.
Season 2 had a 91% audience score. Season 3 of The Mandalorian has a 51% audience score. Now, I before we dive into this, we would not be reviewing this show and this season if I didn't think it was worth watching, or if Patty B didn't think it was worth watching. If we're like, no, the show is actually bad now, don't go watch it. We just wouldn't be doing the show. But I do think that the Book of Boba Fett made a lot of people really mad, and then having to watch 3 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett so that you're caught up on the show that you actually like and that you want to watch is really rough. And so I just want to say, if you're one of the people who is lost, you need to watch the Book of Boba Fett, at least part of it, before you watch the season, just so you know. But that's kind of my initial impressions. Different pacing, really action-packed season. There's a lot of action in the season, and it's all really scaled. It starts off with that big battle, and it scales really well. I remember when they fight the Crate Dragon, I think at the beginning of season 2, it was like, how is this gonna scale? How is this gonna work? Going bigger and bigger and bigger, because the Crate Dragon was so big. And this one does a really good job of scaling throughout it. So, anything that's
correction. Book of Boba Fett's 7 episodes.
Yes, you don't need to watch all 7 of them to know what happened. Though it's only 2 of them.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
2 of the episodes, Boba Fett's not even in them. It's literally Din going to see Grogu, and
they put that stuff in there. That's right. Okay. Do you know which episodes are those? That might be helpful for folks.
Oh,
sure. to go find those.
Yeah. So Book of Boba Fett. It would be.
I think it's 5 and 6. Return of the Mandalorian and From the Desert Comes a Stranger.
Possibly those 2, yeah. Or it might be the finale and the. I just watched the last 3. I'm pretty sure it's just the last 3.
Okay. For what it's worth, those are the ones that are the top rated episodes from the series, looking at IMDb. So
yeah, not surprising.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of it. Before we dive into spoilers, from here on out, if you haven't seen it, we're gonna talk about what's going down. We're gonna yell timber, and we're gonna go over overall impressions first. Before we do that, I'd like to announce that I'd like to be sponsored by Liquid Death. So you know what? If you are watching Liquid Death and you'd like to sponsor this podcast, we love it. Anyway, see, that's how you drop a can opening onto your podcast, and also ask for a 6 sponsor at the same time, because I love Liquid Death.
Yeah, really good water.
So, kind of a high level look at what we loved about what we're reviewing, or just kind of our overall impressions of it. I really found this season to be more epic. Like we kind of talked about that in the previous segment, but everything was kind of bigger. The stakes were higher, the monsters were bigger, the baddies were bigger. The even in the episode, I think it's episode 3, the covert, the convert, where
Mm-hmm.
they have the Imperial, and it's like kind of a sad, different type of episode. Like even that, like everything seems to be big and scary and sad, and the world is not as in a good of a place as we think it is. Or not the world, the I guess the story world is really what I'm trying to say. And I think that that's cool. I think just from the opening scene to I remember that moment when he's underwater and he sees the
Well, he doesn't see it.
or
Uh, Bo-Katan like
Bo-Katan sees it.
rescues
That's
him.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Where Bo-Katan sees it. It's just I don't know. It's awesome. It's awesome. I think that everything felt large in this is kind of what I would say about the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. With it kind of feeling large, I don't know. This is probably going to be one of my could be betters. But with it being so large, it kind of felt a little off that like we didn't have a true like villain throughout the season until the last 2 episodes with Moff Gideon returning. Like they're like doing all this big like setup stuff. Um, so um, yeah, lots of big things happen in this season. Um, and I can see how like sometimes you might get lost in the sauce, especially if you hadn't seen the Book of Boba Fett.
So you didn't think like the pirates or the or trying to figure out, even we just talked about episode 3 of the season, right, where
Mm-hmm.
it's clearly there's some what's the word infiltration happening, some espionage, like that stuff isn't as interesting as you as having a big bad.
Not really. Like it just like it felt different, right? Where and wasn't cohesive. Where you've got we start off with that big bang with them fighting the crocodile, um, and then it just like shifting to these different directions and places. Just kind of felt desynced.
Okay. Uh, let's talk about favorite characters.
Mm-hmm.
This season, I I just had to go with Grogu this season. We're gonna get into it in Lovitz, but Grogu really comes into his own, and is an established character with feelings and motivations, and it's really cool to see what a little puppet can bring to a show like this, and really I don't know, it's just gives so much character to the show, and to himself. The writing is really good for Grogu. It's cute and funny and memorable, and adds a lot to it.
That is a really great choice. For me, it kind of I was a big fan of Bo-Katan this season. It's reflective in my favorite storyline, um, where I think like one of the big moments for her when she does go like see the monster and has that like, oh crap, everything that I like they're saying was real, like these legends are true, um and how important she is to all the different parts of the story, in wrapping up the whole galactic Mandalore storyline. um yeah, she was one of my favorite characters this season. Katie Sackhoff did a really great job.
Okay. Should we talk about favorite storylines now? You wanna kind of dive into Bo-Katan's story for a minute?
Yeah, so we find her in a couple spots where she's eh, inhabiting this like abandoned castle that like her family used to own, and um is kind of out on the outskirts after everything that happened in season 2. Um, with Din winning the dark saber and all that. Um, and then like kind of being that glue that joins her Night Owl group and the Axe Wolf characters and the Armorers, faction, um, and like, oh my gosh, the skill and ease that she uses the Darksaber when she's saving Din, like it kind of shows her confidence, because that was one thing I think in season 2 that like why he was like struggling so much with like using the Darksaber is because he had a lot of doubt, um and that's not there for Bo. So she really kind of becomes the leader she was born to be this season.
I love it. My favorite is just the. I don't know if it's a storyline as something as much as something that just happens time after time in this season, and that's Grogu saving Din. So much of the previous seasons, right? Din was there to protect Grogu, and Grogu's not putting up with that anymore, and he's going to protect Din and make Din, make sure Din is safe. And I love it. I think that it goes to show Grogu's character growth and his, why he chose to leave Luke. Like this is an attachment that he's not willing to give up, and he's going to pave his own path with Din, and I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Should we talk about Could Be Betters?
Yeah.
I'll let you go first on this one. This segment, it's not really us tearing down the thing that we're reviewing as much as it's taking a moment to think of things that maybe we wish we would have gone differently, or stuff like that. Why don't you go first?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned it before with the like not feeling in sync. Part of that I think is due to the Elia Kane clone stuff and having to tie up, because what this series does, and I'm really excited moving forward that it's going to kind of go back to, Din and Grogu going on their adventures, right? As the armor kind of tasks him to do. But you had to tie up some of these storylines that were big picture stuff. So all that stuff with Dr. Pershing and Elia Kane, and the like kind of showing. We've seen glimpses of it in different parts of the Mandalorian, where you kind of see like why the New Republic sucks, and like they do a lot of setup for why the First Order rises to power, and it just didn't feel like it fit in this season. But like it's like taking your medicine, like kind of have to get through some of that and tie up those cloning loose ends.
Yeah, that's fair. Anything else?
Not really. I mean, I agree with your Could Be Better. So
yeah, so I'll just go in. I'll say we've already mentioned like the Book of Boba Fett episodes and how that was probably confusing for some people, and I think that like making somebody go to another TV show to understand your TV show, like it's cool if you want to have them have a cameo in the Book of Boba Fett, right? That's cool. I think it's bad to have it be, if you don't go watch this, you have no idea what's going on.
Where they're just in two complete different places.
Yeah.
And there's nothing within your show that shows.
Yeah. I think it's a problem.
Yeah.
And I think that the other problem was there were at least 2 episodes that were very, like, one of them is very good. That we've already mentioned, episode 3, The Convert, is actually a very good episode, but feels like it's another show. Like, it just didn't feel like it was in this show. Mm-hmm. And then, additionally, the Guns for Hire episode felt like filler. Like, it felt like... it was a fine individual episode, like... I don't know. But people getting really mad saying, like, they just wanted to get Lizzo and Jack Black and in the show. Like, I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of things that were important in that episode. It just felt awkward. Like, going back and rewatching this season, those 2 episodes feel out of place, and I think that it having something that feels out of place is what turned people off to the season.
Yeah, that makes tons of sense. And yeah, they could have, if you can put those actors wherever, they can do their. It's just, it's not. I didn't feel like they were like trying to squeeze it in. I think that's kind of like short-sighted by people to just assume that because they're in the show that they couldn't have done other things.
Yeah. Let's go over Lovitz, though. Those are kind of all my could be betters. And this time we just get to talk about things that we loved and just kind of rapid fire. And you want to go first?
Yeah. So seeing, I guess 2 of mine are kind of the same. The freaking Monstrosaur, like, just the fact that exists in the cave with the living waters, is pretty cool. I don't know if it just like that is its home, or if because of all the destruction on the planet that like that cave grew bigger and kind of interrupted its home. But that whole sequence with the living waters and Din becoming a Mandalorian again and not being an apostate in the Armorer's eyes was really cool.
Love it. Is that it? All yours?
Oh, do you want popcorn?
Sure, we can popcorn. My first favorite one was Grogu in the droid suit. Like, I just thought that was fantastic. A lot of people don't really. A lot of people don't like comedic value stuff in there. So I never understood what people like. You made me laugh. This is stupid now. It's like, shut up. I thought it was funny, and I really enjoyed it, and it was cool. Yeah. It was awesome.
Giving him a voice is pretty great through IG-11. I think it's a really smart way to like. Now that's a really smart way to involve Taika Waititi in the project. Still, right? Is giving IG-11 a voice through a mech suit.
Yeah, that's pretty great. What's your next one?
So I really liked the Moff Gideon and parallels to Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader at the end, with him kind of roasting to a crisp. But like, we don't really know if he's dead. I think he's dead, but you never know in Star Wars. That was one thing that Giancarlo Esposito was really like specific about. Like, he wanted a cape. Like, a lot of what Moff Gideon does is in Vader's image, from all the tech and the look. He's a real Vader fanboy. So
yeah, I think that Gideon is just kind of a cool character, and it's always nice that his run through the show has been really cool to watch. A huge love it for me was also like the pre-planning that you can clearly see Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni put into this type of stuff. There's a small image in Rebels of what looks like Yoda and this explosion, and people earlier speculated that it was Yoda burning down the tree in Star Wars Last Jedi, but it is very clearly Yoda saving Din from this explosion, and it's really cool to think that they planned that far ahead.
Yeah, I can see how that like could look like Yoda burning down the tree,
and it's just in the background of a scene where Bo's sister is I think they're in like a Jedi cave or something. But yeah.
Wow. Man, Filoni had this plan the whole time. He is a special genius.
What's your next favorite? I guess you kind of talked about it.
Yeah, I kind of talked about it a little bit with Grogu saving Din. It was one of your Lovitz too, was our storyline, right, where Grogu is more able to take care of himself, and Din does a really good job of getting into trouble this entire season and having other people save him, like the next one.
Yeah, dude, the thing is so cool. Like, so there's this. I think it freaked my wife out. Like this robot eyeball squishy thing that goes into the mech suit, and like it was so cool. Like, I just thought it was awesome. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was terrifying. Like, it did a really good job of that, like, Grievous mole, like, nasty villain type stuff. I just loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I was about to say, with the like organic material and the machines, it was giving me really strong General Grievous vibes. Yeah, and I was here for it. That was great.
And if you asked me when it happened, I would say, seriously, again, we have to go through this again. But Order 66 in this specific season was pretty good. Pretty good. And there's a special cameo by Ahmed Best, who plays Jar Jar Binks, who got to be the Jedi that saved Grogu.
Yeah, that was really cool. That, I guess I even forgot to put that, where like that's another thing that like kind of takes you out of it a little bit, where it's everyone goes back to Order 66. Hopefully we don't have to like see it too much more.
I feel like there's other shows that we've talked about that like do this type of stuff, where we're like, seriously, again? Like, again? I mean, it was funny because I think that when we did our Bad Batch look-in right before West left the show, like that show starts off with Order 66. Like, it's just like such, I mean, and it makes sense. Like, it's a pivotal part of that part of Star Wars history. But it was cool to see it from Grogu's perspective finally.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that kind of like is like my big love it's. There are obviously things I actually really loved episode 3. I know that I said it could be better, but just the episode itself was so interesting. The acting was so good, and kind of under like seeing the espionage. It's like, if you haven't watched Andor yet, Patty B, like, you get a lot of that type of stuff out of Andor, and I think there's tons of room in stuff. Like, I love that we have a Western. I love that we have this more adult, thrilling. I don't know, this different tone, right? What I don't want is I don't want them to mix them, right? Like, I don't want them to be all the same thing. So
yeah, Star Wars is so big that you can have these different stories and be their own things. One thing, obviously, the end battle scene was great. It's not has to kind of mentioned, and I also think that we talked about it before when he passed away, but I mean, a few episodes this season I think were directed by Carl Weathers, as well as acting in the show, and so that moving forward is definitely going to be something that we're going to miss.
Yeah, definitely going to miss his presence in the show. So that is going to do it for this one. Let's rate it before we go. On a scale of 0 to 5 being 0, you would never let anybody watch this ever again, to 5 being perfection, what'd you rate it?
It's getting a 3.5. It's really good. It's a really good show. But some of that stuff took me out of it, and it almost felt like it was taking our medicine. And now we're moving forward. We're going to get back to a really good Mando show.
Yeah, I would give this a 4. I think that, it has its flaws, but I certainly wouldn't go lower than that, just from like, I enjoyed every episode. There was never a time where I was unhappy. Maybe I'll rewatch it again, and I could see myself going down to a 3.5. But like, I don't know. I thought that it was better than Book of Boba Fett, and I would give that like a 3.5. So
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
But that is going to do it for us. You can find me at Spencer38. You can find Pat, or no, that's not true. You can find me at He's a Game. You can find Patty B at Patty B MTG. You can find the show at Neat Nerd Pod. And then this, I am actually behind on a TikTok. I got to record a Blue Beetle TikTok, and then I got to record one for this show. But check us out over at He's a Game on TikTok as well. Hattie, thank you so much for doing this Sunday evening with me. I hope that you have a great rest of your evening, and I hope everybody at home has a great, whatever time of the day you're listening to the show, the rest of your day, evening, night, whatever. It's great.
Thank you so much. What's going to happen if they don't like or sub, comment on YouTube?
If they don't do it, I don't know. If they do like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, then I'll get new corneas. So,
hey, likes for corneas. Let's go.
There you go. Save my corneas, folks. Save my corneas. I do need them. That's just factually correct.
It's true.
Thank you so much. We'll see you all next time with another episode of the Need to Nerd podcast.